How many of you have heard the saying, if you want it done right, do it yourself? There's some truth in that, but when you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, that could be actually detrimental to the longevity of your business, the profitability of your company, because there are some things that you, as a solo provider or as a group practice owner, there are some high value tasks that you need to be engaged in that you can actually outsource or delegate to someone else who can do the job as good as you, in many cases, better than you when you get the right people on your team. And so, as you're thinking through our conversations about these therapy packages, our therapy intensives, or how you're going to implement these things, there is so much value in having an accountant, not just any accountant, but an accountant that actually is helping you to be proactive in building a profitable business. Same thing with having a lawyer or legal counsel, bookkeeping services. Today we have a very special guest. I just realized recently in planning this event that my beloved sister in Christ and my executive assistant, Emily Doe, she's actually a professional event planner. Mm-hmm. So her and I have been working together, and we've been focused on different tasks within my companies as a therapist, a speaker, and a growth coach. And I did not realize that she's so gifted and passionate about event planning until we actually began putting this event together. And the way that's possible, well, I'm not going to, in a moment, ask a good friend up, Micah Foster. Him and his wife founded a company called Dream Support. And again, whether you're a solo practice owner or a group practice owner, because of the nature of what we do as therapists, it's easy for us to be in that mindset of, I can see my clients, I could do my notes, and I could run the business and do my own books and save money, essentially. I can save money by doing as much as I can on my own. So I'm excited that we have a chance to actually interview our special guest. We're going to ask Micah to come on up. And
is that the hot seat?
We're just going to sit across.
Looks like the hot seat. I know.
And so we're just going to ask you some questions and love for you to share with the group. And then at the end, we'll do a question and answer. And I just want to say, please take full advantage of asking any question that comes to your mind. There is no dumb question. The reason I describe Micah Foster as an expert is because of the nature of what he does as a co-founder of Dream Support. He also has a background in ministry as a church planter, and his company helps high-level leaders in every industry, in different industries. And when I think about people who have literally changed my life, as far as me being, I'm now 42, this is my 5th year in business. I went online on Facebook to ask for if anybody knew of any kind of virtual assistant support. And I got some responses that said to contact a guy named Micah Foster from people that I trusted. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, was to actually contact him. And I'm not going to steal his thunder, but I just want to kind of...
Go ahead, Jamal. You can steal all the thunder.
His company is also a 7-figure company. And the theme here, I was talking with Brian Bishop in photography, there's a theme of, providing services and then making a decision of what type of professional service provider do you want to be. Micah Foster decided, him and his wife decided, they want to be a boutique type service. So as we're talking about being therapists and how it's normal for us to undercharge for our services and to devalue ourselves, it's the same thing happens in ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing happens in the remote executive assistant space. So all that being said, I want to stop talking and turn it over to you, Micah. Can you tell our group, just a reminder, we have some group practice owners here. So Eunice Uribes, she's an LCSW from Better Together Mental Health.
Mm-hmm.
And is it your name? I'm drawing a blank. Bow.
Yeah.
Bow, what is your licensure or your
I'm an associate.
You're an associate?
Family therapist right now.
associate family therapist? So she is a staff at Better Together Mental Health.
Very good.
And Team Blair, they have a group practice and a nonprofit. Anthony is a solo practitioner.
Awesome.
And our friends in the back, they run a ministry nonprofit. And that's, so you kind of have the audience you're speaking
Right.
to.
Right. So what was your question to me? What was your
Who
original
are you?
question? Okay.
Who
All right.
are
Just
you?
want to make sure I'm on track here. I don't
What's
want
your story?
to, yeah. It's always great to have people like Jamal describe his experience working with us rather than me just talk about our experience, because it's like talking to someone who's actually lived it and not just listening to someone else say, I can do this and this is what we do. So that's really helpful. So that's why I said, go ahead, steal the thunder, because the thunder is better from you than from me, probably. So here's what I do. I provide remote executive assistance fractionally to busy leaders in all different kinds of industries. Some of them are therapists, some of them are pastors, some of them are nonprofit executive directors, entrepreneurs, businessmen, CEOs, founders, all kinds of people. So there's a running theme across anybody who's getting anything done, and that's that they're overwhelmed, they have too much going on, they don't have enough support. And there's a tendency to, like you said, want to do it all yourself. I was just looking at this quote. I have it here on my phone. This is from Andrew Carnegie. Anybody you guys know the famous industrialist? He said, no man will make a great leader who wants to do it all himself or get all the credit for doing it. So no man will make a great leader who wants to do it all themselves and also wants to get the credit for it. That strikes to me as very true, but that's what so many people do. That's like the focus. I want to be known for this. I want to be the main person for this. And so that's just a quote I found compelling to myself. Here's a little bit about our story. So my wife, Erica, is my co-founder and co-owner of Dream Support. The reason we started is because she became an executive assistant remotely working 12 years ago to a gentleman in St. Louis. So she just started working a little bit fractionally for him, and then their relationship grew over time. He started a coaching business for nonprofit leaders in donor development, and when he started that, she came on board. It's been 12 years. They still work together. Now she devotes almost all her time to supporting him. Now he has, I think, 10 other coaches, and they coach about 80 organizations. It was just her and him when they started. Wow. So what's amazing about that is that a few years into their relationship, his network started asking for her help and saying, hey, I noticed you're really good at organizing. Zach is his name. I noticed you're really good at organizing him. I noticed you're always in his email making sure that everything's responded to. You're always keeping him on track with his schedule. Not that he's disorganized, but he's just very busy. And they're like, I need help. Can you help me with this project, that project? Can you help me get reins on my stuff? And she would just continually say, no, I don't have time for that. I don't have space for that. I don't have energy for that. And after a few years of people coming to her, I said, we have got to figure this out, Erica. There are people coming to you who need your help, and they come to you because of a relationship, because of a referral, and you're turning them down, sending them away. They need help. So she kind of looked at me and she said, you go ahead and figure that out.
If I can jump in there, a niche, right? His wife is serving in her zone of genius. Mm-hmm. She's gifted in that area. And because she found a leader in her life who's an entrepreneur. She got connected to this leader, so there's the relational component. As a leader, he empowered her to do what she does best. So she's just being herself. His wife is not looking for opportunities. She's content. She's married to you. You guys are doing your ministry, and she's working and all of that. But just out of an overflow of her serving at such a high level of excellence in her niche. Can you guys see the niche that she had and didn't even know it?
Yeah.
Back
She
to you.
still has trouble seeing it sometimes. I have to remind her, you're so valuable to Zach, the team, and others. So I figured it out. I was like, let's recruit some people. You help train. You become our resident mentor for other executive assistants, and we'll match people up. So we became sort of a matchmaking.
She told
service.
Micah to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because he's saying, Erica, honey, for 3+ years, give or take,
Yeah.
people have been coming wanting to do business. And so she basically said, okay, hubby,
Yeah.
you figure it out.
Yeah.
And your response,
I said, okay,
he figured it out.
good. I'll do that. So that was kind of the beginning. That's why we started. Anyway, we had 2 clients at the tail end of 2018. That's when we founded. And they were a wellness company out in Arizona, and then Zimmerman Therapy Group here locally. If you guys know Stephanie Zimmerman, they were just kind of starting out at the time. And now they have 3 offices. And at one point, they had 5 assistants with us running all of their stuff. So we still have a great relationship. We just have 1 assistant with them right now, but we have a great relationship with Stephanie. And I think because of that relationship, in the Facebook thing or whatever you were describing earlier, the question you had about, does anybody know? I think that was maybe where that came from. But that's how it works for us. We're almost 100% referral. Like, people come to our website, but our website is not meant to gain new clients. Our website is like for people who have heard about us and want to investigate a little bit.
Can you tell us, Micah, what was your journey in terms of once you committed to starting this company, you had to decide, did you want to be a virtual assistant type company? What's the difference between a virtual assistant and a remote executive assistant? And how did you and Erica think through a lower tier, middle, and being a boutique type service?
Yeah. So, like, I didn't tell this part of the story, but my wife worked with a company. When she first started doing this kind of work, she worked through a company, and that company was called EA Help at the time. Now it's called Belay. It's one of the biggest companies. It's like Fortune 500. She was like hire number 12 or something there. And it was all remote. And so that was like before she started working with this guy, Zach. That company kind of grew so fast, so quickly that it became, a little bit, it's like a corporate machine, right? Like, they have so many clients, they have so much going on, and they had to niche down their services to be very specific. And they couldn't be the broad catch-all executive assistant anymore that we like to offer, because they had to niche down because they had so many clients to serve.
So part of it was a response to the market.
Yeah.
Micah and Erica are really excellent at responding to the market. Say, for example, after, like, post-election, right? Post-election brings up some new pain points in our local community, right? As a mental health care group practice owner or solo practitioner, how can you strategically respond to these pain points in our community? Because where there's pain, there's money to follow when you're a helper and a healer. So for you guys, you guys saw the demand in the market.
Well, the demand changed too, because COVID happened. So the demand changed, and people wanted to do the work remotely, or they needed more help that was not in an office because people weren't in an office. And so we started getting more inquiries. The plan really wasn't, when we started, to like grow a service. It was to serve a few people that we knew that needed the help. And then as people came, it's like, okay, yeah, we can add more. And then COVID happened, and I was pastoring a church during COVID, so this was like a side gig. And my opportunity in growing and leading the church decreased, and the opportunity growing and leading the organization, the business, increased. And I had to kind of decide what we were going to do. Like, I had to decide, am I going to stay, as COVID kind of came to a close, it was like, are we going to reinvigorate all of our volunteers and sort of relaunch, because that's what we would have to do at the time, or which would cause the business to struggle. I wouldn't have time to do what I was doing. Or is there something else God's doing right now? And for me, man of faith, like, I felt like that was a season that was closing and a new season was opening. And so I was just trying to follow that lead. We found another church to join. We pushed all our resources and people into that, and then we kept growing the business. So it was kind of a life transition thing, but the market changed.
For those who are here who are either a solo practitioner, because you were able to grow and to scale, but I also know that you value systems and processes.
Yeah.
How has putting in certain standard operating procedures, SOPs, systems and processes benefited you and Erica as you have grown this niche company?
Yeah. For one thing, at some point I had to start drinking from my own well, and I had to get my own assistant, because when we started, I didn't have that, right?
You didn't need it.
I didn't need it.
You didn't feel like you needed it.
And then I was like, and whether I felt like I needed it or not, I was like, I have to start using this so that I'm product testing. I'm receiving the same benefits as I'm talking about.
How long were you in business before you actually hired your own executive assistant?
I think 2 years.
So you went 2 years of doing it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does it sound familiar to anybody?
Yep.
So there's a pivotal moment for a solo provider, professional service provider. When you go to your dentist, would you expect your dentist to be your dentist and be the receptionist and be the biller? Eunice is a hard no for you, Eunice.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
What would you expect of your dentist?
No, definitely no.
Hard no for you, Anthony.
Yep.
And so, but that's what I was doing, right? And that's what Mike was doing for 2 years, and that's what's normal when you're getting started. So you had that pivotal moment. You started drinking from your own well. What happened next?
Yeah. So then I started experiencing the things that I knew I would experience, but it also meant that I had to document the processes so that somebody else could be a part of it. And for me, I was like, and I know this is so true of most people, it lived in my head, and it was just a natural response. Like, okay, I have this meeting, this is what I do after that. Or I have this inquiry, these are the things I do after that. And it was just inside of me and not written down because I was
But Micah,
solo.
I'm busy. Micah, I'm too busy.
No, I know.
I am an entrepreneur.
Exactly.
I got a family. Like, I don't have the time and the energy and the space to write these things out.
No, you
So
don't.
how did you make time for that?
You don't, and
how
neither
you
did I.
benefited?
I didn't either. I didn't write it out. What I did was I got on calls with my assistant, Zoom calls, shared the screen, show her what I was doing.
So to make it easy for himself, he got on a call, a Zoom call, shared the screen with her. At this point, he's now leveraging that remote executive assistant. He's now leveraging his time. He said to himself, I don't want to do this, but it needs to get done. So I'm going to leverage my remote executive assistant, screen share with her, equip her, and she'll get it done.
Yeah. And there are tools, that you can use for some of that stuff now that weren't then, different softwares and stuff. But I would just show her what I was doing. She would ask questions in real time, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I skipped that step. Oh yeah, that's what I meant. So she's catching my misses and errors.
The tools I'm talking about are ChatGPT. You can actually tell ChatGPT to be your executive assistant. I know one entrepreneur who has leveraged chat in a way to replace 5 staff. He still values relationships. He loves people and he's heart-centered, but he's doing both. He's leveraging real human connection, and he leveraged chat to make 5 other positions to scale to 7 figures. Another resource is called Fathom. Fathom is a resource where it's a free resource through chat where Fathom can be your note taker for your meetings, for your virtual meetings. And there might be a resource that I'm not aware of for like non-virtual meetings. Like if we were meeting right now and there's an AI resource.
I have it in my
record.
jacket. It's called a Plod Note Taker. Maybe you've seen ads for this. PLAUD, I think it is. But basically, you just press record. You can attach it to the back of your phone. It'll record your calls. You can put it on the table right here and record for a session. It'll give you notes. It'll do the transcript. You can listen again. So I use that for in-person stuff.
So chat, Fathom, Plod, Plaud are resources. So you leverage, at the time you didn't have those resources, so you leverage your EA. What has it been like for you as things have grown over the years?
I've had to change my systems a few times, and sort of look for new ways to capture data. I didn't realize how big of a deal data would be to me. So like you're describing Fathom. Fathom is a great tool for me. It joins all of my virtual meetings. It can join Google Meets, Teams, and Zoom, and I'm sure there's others. But those are the three that I've been using with it. And it creates a video catalog for me to go back to. So I can search any key term, any name. It'll bring up that meeting, that minute, that thing. It'll tell me, or I can watch that little piece of it. It'll also give me the notes. You can enable action items. So there's a ton of use cases. You can also clip out little moments. So for instance, if we're on a Zoom call and you tell me something amazing that Emily did, and you're just so over the moon about it, I can clip that out and send it to her on Slack and be like, look what Jamal said. And that's just like a word of encouragement for her, and it gets her more excited. So those are great little tools. I just love it because it means that I don't have to remember everything everybody says. I can go back and search for that moment in time and rewatch it.
Now, before I met Micah, I did at one point have a virtual assistant through a different company, through someone who's based in California. He's actually a licensed mental health care provider, a multi-passionate entrepreneur out of the Bay Area. And I went to that company before I even knew about Dream Support because of mental health, and I love the idea of another mental health care professional providing a virtual assistant. And I had a positive experience overall, so much so that when my virtual assistant got let go by that company, I actually almost hired her, and it wasn't meant to be that she was hired, and I'm grateful for that. But now I was back to not having any kind of virtual assistant support. Here's something I want to highlight that really has impacted me. When I met Micah, we did a discovery call. You interviewed me for as long as you felt you needed to, because I believe your discovery call is like 15 minutes, 30-minute window, but...
Yeah, sometimes we go a little longer. Depends on the questions and that sort of thing.
And I tend to talk a lot.
No,
Thank you for listening to me. But that's the cool thing, is what I experienced with him was he interviewed me. He really wanted to understand who I am, what do I represent, what are my challenges, what are my strengths. At the time I was telling him, hey Micah, I'm an LMFT, I'm a speaker and I'm a coach and I'm in this mastermind, and he listened to all of it. Just like you do, right, for your clients. And then if he has a remote executive assistant in his ecosystem, initially he was like, yeah, Jamal, I think I got somebody for you. It was like a 2-week timeline. Then he realized he didn't have anybody in his ecosystem. So he actually went out on LinkedIn or wherever else you go. He has some kind of better process that he uses. He went out to go find the first one for me. Then what he does is he does a meet and greet. So it's him, it's the prospective remote executive assistant, and you, the provider. He does an introduction, He has you share who you are. That remote executive assistant shares about who they are. At the end of that meet and greet, everybody leaves with the understanding that there can be a yes or a no. So that EA could say, yeah, I want to work with Jamal Jones, or no, thank you. Or I could say, you know what, no, thank you. So my first one, she had higher priorities in real estate, so she didn't last. And that kind of caught us a little bit off guard. But guess what he did? He went out and found me another one. So for me, it's stressful. Like this is a huge pain point of like, I don't know how to hire, and I know I needed support. So for me, I value that service that he provides of like, okay, I know what you need, I'm gonna go get it for you. So he came back with another one, and her and I had a beautiful relationship. Mm-hmm. It was life-changing. It was game-changing for me personally and professionally. She cut back her hours, and guess what? When she cut back her hours, I'm kind of needy. She didn't say that to me, and he didn't say that to me. Like, Jamal, you kind of needy. So she can't, I didn't feel the pressure. Like, she informed him as her employer. I thought that you would call me, say, hey, Jamal, this person is going to step back, and it's like, okay, maybe I'm not going to have an EA anymore. But what he was doing was he went out and he found Mrs. Emily Dole. Huge source of relief for me. And I could sing praises all day about Emily Dole.
Go for
Emily-
it.
This is my cue to exit.
I call Emily, Mrs. Proactive 3G Leader Dole. That's her nickname. I call her Mrs. Proactive because when I met Emily, she sees my needs before I even know that I need them. She just got to my email box, started responding to emails. There has to be trust. Yeah. So, of course, she vetted me to say, okay, we met, we had the process, she got onboarded, there's a high trust level. Micah does an excellent job of finding high character staff. That's hard to do, right? So I tend to be I want to give people the benefit of the doubt and err on the side of trust. So of course she had my trust. And man, once she realized that I trust her to a certain extent, emails are gone. Documents are taken care of. A flight is booked to go to Florida without me being involved in it. This event happening right now, all the emails you've been receiving, our newsletter that we send out. Next week, I'm not going to be working on Thanksgiving and Black Friday because she cleared my schedule. She cleared my schedule to be here today. And I'll share one story. When you're married or in a serious relationship, in the beginning of me being an entrepreneur, I was like, how can I leverage my wife? Because everybody's out there married. They're pastors' wives and
mistake
entrepreneur
number one,
wives.
Jamal. That was
Yes.
mistake number one.
So, I was begging my wife to, like, we're married, and you're my helpmate, you're my supporter. So I'm in business now, and can you help me? And my wife was a hard no, but I kept begging. And so one specific task, when I met Brian Bishop over at Fresno County Department of Behavioral Health, Fresno County had asked me to do a presentation on Black mental health and suicide for the Suicide Prevention Collaborative. And my wife helped me with that PowerPoint, but it was a stressor on our marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, she did it. I was grateful. It got done. But it was obvious to me that, I could ask her again in the future, but would it be worth it?
Yeah. Well, I think this is very common. Like, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs that rely on their spouse or significant other for administrative support or some kind of business support. And I wrote an article about this. Save your marriage, get an assistant. Because there's a reason I don't use Erica, my wife, as my assistant. I could, She's right there, and it wouldn't cost me anything extra. But I know that would not be good for us. So we are partners in this business. And I handle most of the business side, and then she steps in when needed to help with, resourcing other assistants, encouraging people, things of that nature. So she steps in, but only when I ask her to or need her to, because she's so focused on serving Zach, her main client. If I pulled that attention from all the other things, our family, our kids, Zach, other pieces would fall apart. I'm like, I need you to stay focused on these things.
Now, Micah, I hear you. But if I'm a solopreneur
Yeah.
or a group package owner early in the phases, and I'm paying for my electronic health record,
Yeah.
I'm paying for maybe bookkeeping services, I'm budgeting for taxes, either quarterly or annually. I have my cell phone bill. I have all these quote unquote expenses. I like to call them investments in the business. Why would I hire a remote executive assistant and put resources towards that? Is there a return on investment? Because I feel like you're asking me, right, to put out more money, and I'm trying to save money. So help me see the value, and why would I make a ongoing commitment to investing in remote support like this?
Well, I would say this too, like there's two ways to affect your budget or impact your budget, right? Your income. There's to save money and there's to make more. And we're trying to resource people so that they can make more. So, yeah, that's good, right? You could clip that. So I think that's the interesting part. Have you guys seen the app? I don't know how popular it is anymore. I never used it, but I saw the ads all the time. Acorns. You ever heard of that? So the idea of Acorns, it's kind of like when you go to the Taco Bell drive-thru and they say, would you like to round up for education? And you're like, I don't know what that means, but okay, I feel bad if I say no at this point. So, they get 59 cents or whatever. And they give it to I don't even know where. But I think the concept of the app is that when you spend with your card, it will take the remainder of that dollar and invest it in a different account. So you always have like an even dollar amount that you're spending. They're just taking that little roll off and putting it somewhere else. And I was thinking about this the other day, that a great executive assistant will take all those little spare change moments in your day that are related to administrative tasks and give you that focus, time, and energy back so that you can focus on the bigger priorities. So, for example, I don't know what your process is exactly in your business, but maybe after someone inquires about working with you or needing your services, you have an intake coordinator that might be you. You have someone kind of entering them into the system, or maybe it's automated in some way. You may have some kind of follow-up call, email follow-up. All these kinds of little things could actually be done by somebody else.
I have a good example. Remember earlier I was telling you about the client, private pay client who put down a $3,000 deposit toward the $6,000 package. I did my part in terms of seeing her, caring for her, letting her know that we're going to help her through this difficult breakup. We offer third-party financing because we discovered that when you offer that third-party financing, that helps overcome some barriers for some people. But that's not my gift. The previous executive assistant that you gave me, Tammy Adams, beloved Tammy Adams, she was Tammy Earbud Legion the Biller Adams. That was her nickname.
Everybody has a nickname.
Yeah. I love Tammy. I miss Tammy. So Tammy Adams had actually set
Hold
up.
before you move on, I got a big comment about Tammy. She had 4 clients that she was serving, and one of them needed more time. So she had to reprioritize her whole life and figure out how am I, and she was in tears when she called me about not serving you anymore. She was just like, I feel so bad. I love Jamal. I love working with him. I want to support him. So what we did is we arranged a handoff, right, where Emily could learn from Tammy and Tammy could. So we try to make it, if there's going to be a transition, because all professional relationships are temporary. Every single one of them. You can't get around that. That's just true. So we're trying to make it as easy as possible if there's going to be a transition for something like that to happen.
It was seamless. In terms of my stress as an entrepreneur, because I was depending on Tammy. I was depending on her. Like when you entrust your staff or your support team, basically I would have been screwed. Like if Tammy wasn't of good moral character, and if Tammy wasn't motivated and willing to transition in a way where she would collaborate with her boss and she would collaborate with a stranger, that being Emily Doe, I mean, I was screwed. Are some things documented? Yes, of course. But I praise God that she had the character and the leadership to, I don't remember the exact process, but I know that the three of us met at one point, me, you, Emily, and Tammy, and I know that Tammy worked directly with Emily Dole. So by the time me and Emily Dole began working together, she was fully equipped. So it was a seamless process. And in contrast to my previous experience with the virtual assistant with the other company, that virtual assistant actually got let go. And that company did offer me somebody else. But the quality of the transition, the character behind it, it's not, nothing's perfect. But I felt the highest level of excellence with the transition.
Yeah.
Let me be quiet and ask you a question again.
Okay.
But I forgot where we're at here. Micah, can you tell us this? Because you serve throughout the country,
Yeah.
and one of your niches is working with mental health professionals. Can you talk to the group about what are some things that you are seeing other either solo professional service providers or high-level leaders? That's his niche. His niche is high-level leaders. How are they leveraging their executive support where they're making more money? What are some tasks that are commonly outsourced?
Yeah. Well, a big one has to do with email, because email, as you know, gets out of control real quick. What really gets me sweating is if I see a social media post of someone who shows that unread, number of emails, and it's like 80,000. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Because if you have that many unread emails, yeah, a lot of it's junk, but there is opportunity missed, and you have failed somebody because you didn't get back to them. You didn't fulfill on your promise. I know that for sure. I can say that with certainty. If you have that many unread emails, that's a problem. And I know nobody in this room has that many, but that is an extreme example. So just helping to process that, right? Get the junk out of the way, unsubscribes out of the way, make sure that if there's consistent kinds of emails, there's templates set up for those responses. They can be draft responses, and then you can say, hey, you have 4 responses, and then you can go and personalize them, send them off. Or you can, over time, they learn your tone, your voice, everything, and they can just send many of those on that they know how you're going to talk. That's how my wife works with Zach. Calendar is a really big thing as well. So I'm a big believer in using tools like Calendly, booking tools. I know in your in your electronic health records, there's a lot of ways to do that, simple practice, things like that, for that kind of booking. So calendar management's a really big deal. Research and report. So this happens all the time to leaders. They see the new shiny object and they want it, or they want to try it out, or they think it's going to be the solution to all their problems. Most of the time it's not, right? It's like just a side quest. So you can empower an assistant to go research that and report back to you their findings, instead of you spending a lot of extra time spinning your wheels trying to figure out, is this a solution that's going to solve the problem I'm thinking about? That's a really big thing. Booking travel is a big thing. Clearing schedule, rescheduling everybody, callbacks when people are calling in on you. Because if you're fully booked, how many sessions would you have in a day if you were fully booked?
So I'm gonna ask a real life question.
Yeah, do it.
So like in May, we're planning on doing a mental health fair.
Yeah.
And I've never done one before, I've never put one together, and I'm kind of running into all kind of little obstacles of creating a flyer, getting the
Yeah.
venues, all of that kind of good stuff, finding sponsors. And we want to do it by May, so the clock just keeps getting shorter and shorter and shorter. So is that something that an executive assistant would help with the planning and getting the venues and the sponsorships and the flyers out? And all that, well, you're here, man. Is that what an executive assistant would do?
That's-
Just trying to figure out what.
That's one thing that they could be involved in. That would be like a project, right? So there's two ways to think about the work. Like this event is a project,
Okay.
right? So there's project-based stuff, and then there's ongoing responsibilities. Sometimes people just need help with one project. And so they find someone who has that specific, just that one skill set to help them with that one project. That's not generally what we do. What we do is we provide someone who can do the projects plus regular recurring responsibilities. So yes, an executive assistant could help with that sort of thing. They can do just about anything that you would need someone to do that they don't need a physical presence for. And it's a special treat that they're in the same city. Most of our assistants are not in the same city. Some of them do get invited places or flown out for special events and things like that. But rarely, I'll give you another example. Erica, my wife, worked with Zach for 12 years at this point. She met him in person for the first time last month. For the first time. I met him a couple times in person because I've had the opportunity. But they've been working remotely for that long. So yes, that is something that they can help with. And if you have the luxury of them being in the same city, they could come scope out the venue with you. I think you guys did that. So does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
I have one story here because Jamal sends me people all the time, which is great. I love it. That's how we grow. You sent me someone recently who's kind of in the East Bay, and through our conversation, our discovery process, me interviewing him, he's excited. We've got him matched. We're going to be moving forward. Another mental health professional that I recently came into contact with in the San Diego area, I had an interview process with him, and I learned in that process that he has a virtual assistant right now. And I'm like, okay, why are you, like, what's going on there? Why are we talking? And he goes, well, the virtual assistant focuses on mental health professionals, and her book of business is full. And I'm like one of her smallest clients, so she's kicking me off, basically. She's kicking me out. So now he's left with no options except to go find his own option. And then I'm like digging more. Like, how much time does she commit to you? He's like, maybe like 15 hours a month. I'm like, okay, well, that's not a lot of time. It's like 4 hours a week, roughly, a little bit under that. So what are we talking about? What's the cost there? And he said $2,000 a month. And I said, excuse me? This is crazy. What are you doing? I just sort of like almost yelled at him because he was not getting the service he deserved from her. He was getting no's from her a lot. Like, no, I don't have time for that. No, I can't do that. And her focus and attention was so divided that he was getting thrown off her client list. And I was like, dude, we could do so much better than this. And so we provide fractionally assistance. So our bottom package starts at 5 hours a week, but it would be much lower than that. I mean, for 5 hours a week, which is roughly, if you average that out over the year, it's 21.67 hours a month. And that's just under $750 a month. So we're not talking about crazy costs here. It's actually, we try to right size it for the client.
And go ahead.
So we're co-owners. So if we were to do that, would that be for both of us, or?
Yeah, great question. Great question. So the way we view it is, you're the client, you split up the focus and responsibility or the attention, how you feel is appropriate or needed. If there's a point in which you're like, well, we each need our own, we can make that happen, or we just, increase the load or the time commitment. And we also know that a lot of entrepreneurial leaders have tasks that fall outside work, but they're still helpful to the leader. And if the leader gets better, the business gets better. So the business owners have the ability to say the investment is worth it on the personal side so that I can be better at business. So we view the individuals as the clients. We don't really care if it's, if they need to do something outside work.
In the mindset of his staff, they understand income generating activities. One story, like the one client I told you about, these packages and intensives, the clients want a higher level of experience too, right? So they come see you, they come to your practice, and they become familiar with your brand, who you are. Having this remote executive assistant to help out with communication and emails and continuity of care, and them knowing that there's not only the provider, but also somebody else behind the scenes nurturing them, caring for them. They feel like they're getting an overall experience that might be different than just a typical find a therapist, have an appointment, and there's a disconnect.
There's also sometimes when you have solo practitioners, there's a stickiness in the hey, you need to pay kind of exchange, because it gets relationally weird there a little bit. And so having someone else in that part of that business can help alleviate that pressure and weirdness.
So for these packages, if you were to do a package, you can train and equip the executive assistant. Again, Micah would interview you. Even though you meet him here today, he would interview you, understand what your needs are. If you need an EA that has the internal strength to have a conversation with prospective clients about your fees and prices, he'll find that for you. So now you have the vision, you have the direction, you have the $10,000 package for the client, and now that virtual assistant, he'll find one that's comfortable describing the package, what the investment would be, and what's the payment plan.
Yeah. Couple of things that I find very helpful when we talk about our service is a couple of illustrations. So number one, if we were creating a superhero story together and trying to figure out what the roles were, our clients would be like Batman, and we would be like Alfred and a little bit of Robin rolled up into one. Because Alfred is resourcing with tools and making sure things are happening behind and make sure the Batmobile is, tuned up and all that. And then Robin is like a right-hand person who can kind of come along on some of the journey, kind of help out with some of the stuff. Now, they can't do sessions, right? They can't do things that you're licensed for, but they can do everything else. So it's those kind of sorts of things. If we were a transportation business, we would not be Uber, because you have a relationship with one driver, one person who's walking with you or driving with you on this journey. So we'd be more like a chauffeur. So it's a customized experience to each client, depending on what their needs are.
Any other questions?
So they can do intake calls, for therapists, they could do the consultations to see if it.
So because they're fractional, they won't be available or sitting by the phone 24/7. So I'm sure many of us are used to this anyways. A lot of things go to voicemail. So they would be screening those, doing callbacks, if that's something you need, doing callbacks and trying to understand if this is the best fit for them. And then in some places where there's a group and they know the specialties, they can help figure out who's the best assignment or the person to take on that.
And the value in that is the fortune is in the follow-up. Most professional service providers just don't follow up.
That's unbelievable, actually.
So even if it's a missed phone call, I have one private pay client who, because I followed up with his voice message, he came on at $6,000. If then at the end of that package, he took on another package at $5,000. So this one client, because I didn't miss that phone call and followed up, that's $11,000 that could have been lost. So people are looking for mental health support. They're leaving messages. They're not getting calls back. That's a strategic move. Like you can say in your business, we want to have a policy in our business where we return phone calls within 24 hours. And that alone will generate, if you track it, you'll notice that it will generate more revenue for your business. Any other questions for Micah?
Can we also do your social media posts?
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. Yep. So industry standard right now for a lot of social creations, if it's not just a picture, it's going to be like Canva, right? Photoshop used to be the deal. That's too cumbersome. It weighs down your working machines. It's too hard. Canva's so easy. It's like templates and buttons. So my assistant, like for instance, here's an example. I write a newsletter, goes out on Mondays. That newsletter, it focuses on maximizing your investment in your executive assistant in that relationship. Other things get snuck into that, like business owner stuff, and sometimes my pastor hat finds a way onto my head, and I start writing a little spiritual stuff. So other things find its way in there, but that's the focus of it. And then my assistant, we have a tracking system we've created where she takes that content. It's just a Google Doc. She puts it in my MailChimp, formats it like I want it. She creates images, repurposes it on Instagram. She creates stuff for X or Twitter. She schedules stuff for that. She puts it on Facebook. So she's taking that one thing, and for sometimes, depending on the timing, it can be months apart that those things are using. But every Monday, she's got fresh content going out. All I have to do is write that one thing.
Real quickly, the reason why I call Emily Doe Mrs. Proactive 3G leader, the first G is for grace. Like she's very professional, she's very gracious, she's serious about her work. Like it's a interesting thing. Like she's very polite, very professional, but you can tell that she's very tenacious about how she approaches her responsibilities, but she does it full of grace. The other G is Emily is gritty. Like I've seen her just figure stuff out without me even asking. Like right now in this moment, I can't think of anything specific right now, but I promise you on a regular basis, she's solving problems. She's thinking critically. She has, this is a great example. So
Tell us, Jamal.
This was crazy. This was crazy. So we were corresponding with Brian Bishop about his availability to do this event for the videography and photography, right? And so Brian Bishop responds to an email. It says, yeah, I'm available. Let me know if you need a contract or anything signed. And so I read his email. Maybe Emily, because she has access to my email, so maybe she might have read my email for me, right? She read my email. In less than 20 minutes, I'm not kidding, I read the email. I was still thinking about how to follow up. Like, do I call Emily? Do I email Brian back? Do I wait for Emily? I'm just processing the email. And while I'm processing it, she leveraged, so the third G for Emily is geekiness. So you got Emily, Mrs. Proactive, 3G leader for gracious, gritty, and geeky. I mean, she geeks out with ChatGPT, with Fathom, with Canva. And she sent Brian Bishop a professional contract in less than 30 minutes. I didn't even ask her. Any more questions? Oh, no, you're going to ask the question.
You started tonight.
But
I guess it was about. Does the officers, or not, do they push out your social media?
and she does that, yeah.
And put it out?
Emily Doe, she does social media posts.
Yeah.
So my mindset, let me tell you this. I've invested substantial resources in search engine optimization, SEO. I've invested thousands of dollars in my website. I've invested $25,000 in a particular mastermind, another $12,000, $15,000 in another mastermind. I've put out lots of resources to grow and to grow. It would be stupid of me to put out any money without going through her first. Before I invest in a mastermind or a coaching program or anything, she's my partner. If Emily gives a green light, then yeah, we can do it. Because I did not even realize she was a professional event planner until we did this event here. So the depth and the breadth, and I think that's the difference between the virtual assistant or a receptionist versus a remote executive assistant.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to match you with somebody, but really it's a gift that keeps on giving based upon that relationship and your trust, right? If you were willing to entrust this EA with certain responsibilities, you may discover some things about them you had no idea. Like yesterday, for example, me and Emily were going through the slide deck, and we're talking about like food and everything, like the waters and the snacks. She was like, "Oh, Jamal, I'll go to Walmart, I'll order the food." And all I had to do was a social media post. The food's done. And she went and picked up this morning everything. Now, she's local again, but the point I want to highlight is even when you get matched, you have your initial impression of what they're capable of, but you'll discover the same thing happened with Tammy Adams.
Yeah, and the other thing about that is what we've done is create an ecosystem of support for the support. So all the assistants have access to myself, my wife, all the other assistants that we work with across the U.S. in Slack. And we have certain channels for things like help needed, or we have a prayer and support channel because people are people and they have stuff, you know, and so we support each other in that stuff. We've got channels for therapy practice support, speaker support, ministry support, you know, CEO support. We've got all these separate channels that are for specific conversations. And then we have a toolkit. So every time one of us learns something, we all learn something. And so it's continually, you know, leveling up everybody's expertise.
So Slack is a resource.
Yeah, Slack is a resource. It's a good way to put it.
Slack is a resource for cohesiveness for your team.
Yeah, because we're all remote, right? So, you know, even my wife and I work together, but her office is in part of our living room, and my office is in one of the rooms. We're still slacking during the day because otherwise we'd be walking back and forth. So even if we were in person together, it's a good resource to keep those conversations centrally located so that you can kind of go back and make sure.
So they have access to your emails,
They can.
You
don't
can
have
give
to.
them, yeah.
They can.
and they would only answer things that were personal to you, or would they be answering the gibberish going on in the office, like different things coming from office staff?
Let me jump in here real quick.
That they would know?
During the onboarding process, Micah gives you a form. It's like a document of getting started with Remote Executive Assistant. And in this form, you write out your manifesto. So for you, it'd be the Omega Mental Health Manifesto. And you would clarify your vision, like what's important to you. And on this document, you'll make a list of tasks that you want to outsource to a remote EA. And then during that meet and greet, you can use that document to communicate to that EA, here's what I want you to do. What's that document called that you give us?
Yes,
It's the
how to
manifesto.
start. I just call it
Yeah,
how to start.
How to start.
On it, there is a manifesto. It's like a fill in the blank, like Mad Libs.
It's a
little bit.
manifesto.
So you can fill in the blank. You can say, I need an EA to do these things so that I can do this. And, you know, so it's like makes it clear why you're utilizing this.
Emily Doe has access to banking information in my business. She has access to a credit card. Again, that's just my style of leadership. I wouldn't recommend anybody to do what I'm doing necessarily, but it's just, I trust her, I trust Micah, and when you find people that you can trust, it's a game changer.
Typically, access starts lower, right? You build trust but verify. That's the whole principle here.
Yeah, she's been verified.
You trust someone, you give them trust, but you verify that trust through their actions, how they treat you, things of that nature. So you can increase access over time. So if you don't want to start with someone being in your email, that's fine. They don't ever have to be in your email if that's not what you want them to do. So there's not like a prescriptive way that you have to utilize in EA, but there are best practices on how to utilize
The goal, the ultimate goal, is for you to focus on a high value task. Like what's important to you in your personal life, what's important to you in your professional life, what are the high value tasks that's the highest use of your time.
Yeah.
The reason why Emily was so willing to take care of the food and the drinks was she wanted me to be present with you all and being able to present and communicate. And so she was being proactive to say, okay, I'll take care of boom, 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 boom. Because I was going to go to Office Depot yesterday. I was planning on it. I wasn't going to ask her to do that. I was going to go. But because she's proactive and she knew that there's a need there, she's like, Jamal, I'm going to Walmart anyway. I'll order the food.
You should probably stop because we probably won't get anybody like that. You might mess it up. You probably should chill.
Unless you have room.
Well,
Never
here's
know.
the thing. Well,
Wait a minute, wait, you're not Emily.
well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what I'm trying to tell you. This is his niche. This is him and Erica's niche. Everybody can't be Emily Dole, but I'm trying to be as sincere. I'm not trying to oversell you on
You
anything.
just got her hired though. So now what?
But I'm just trying to let you know. I'm trying to let you know that
I already know what you can do.
the competence. This is the company. When Micah and his team present you with an EA, he has a specific system that he goes through to vet the EAs. So for me, that's a stress reliever because I don't have to stress as much as vetting because I know that he's vetting for me. And whatever the system is, the process is, it's really effective. Again, this is the boutique type, so these are gifted professionals. But the goal is to make more money, do high value tasks, lead your company, do your therapy. Anthony, you have any questions? You've been quiet. In the back, any questions? Any questions from Micah? Eunice, any more questions?
No, I think that executive assistants are super important, and I've been so fortunate with so one of my clinicians, in growing her caseload, she agreed to help with that, and it was a game changer for me. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize all the things that I was doing, and
Yeah.
it was taking up time in my mind, and as her caseload grows, she's not going to be able to do that anymore, so I would definitely be reaching out because I just know how amazing it is to have someone who responds to emails and phone calls.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's like-
You describe a principle which is brain space. You want to relieve the brain space because you only have so much capacity to hold all the things, all the balls that you're holding physically and in your business. You only have so much capacity to think about those things, and so you need people to relieve, whether it's an executive assistant or other providers. It's really important.
And just to have one that can circle back to you and remind you of, hey, did you finish that, or are we gonna go? You'll forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just really like that person to bring that back to you, and you don't have that sometimes, and you miss it.
Well, I mean, we have
It's the same thing.
as entrepreneurial people, we have a million ideas of what we'd like to do, and we will start down those roads and then not finish it. But if you've actually invested some time about talking about that thing with somebody, you're more likely to finish it or continue down that road. And if you have an assistant who says, okay, so we started this project, do we want to move forward with it? You talked about this health fair. Are we doing this? What's, they're going to keep pushing it. They're like, because it's coming up, they'll keep pushing you on that too.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
One last thought is having my remote executive assistant, I can actually follow through with things like this. Because you know how we have full of ideas.
Yeah.
Oh, this would be a great idea. That'd be a great idea. The confidence and the sense of empowerment to actually follow through with a single idea is a game changer. Because some things you just can't do by yourself, quite frankly. So thank you, Micah, for gracing us. Up here, everybody, there's a QR code.
Emily made that.
Yep.
She told me that a little bit ago. That I made that. I was like, oh, there's a dinosaur in it.
Google.
That's
One of
cool.
our BFFs.
I haven't tested it, but I'm just, you know.
I tested it
I trust
yesterday.
you guys verify.
Yes, but I also have your website listed up there.
Cool.
But even if you want to leverage Micah as a consultant, you know, I recommend you work with him if you want to make more money and leverage your time. But when it comes to like leadership and systems, processes, admin support, I mean, this is, by God's grace, your area of expertise. And thank you for sharing it with us today.
Thank you for having me. I would say that, you know, you talked about responding to market, right? And some people will never utilize a remote EA, but we still get inquiries from them. How could we learn what Erica has learned working with this guy for so long? What are the principles? And so until, you know, just recently, I've been trying to convince Erica there's something else here we can also do. And because our internal EAs have access to her and her resources and things like that, but in terms of other people outside of our organization, they don't have access to that. So we're in talks about creating a high impact EA coaching program. So if someone was going to bring their own EA on staff, or if they already have someone but they just want to increase their investment in that, she's going to start doing some of that too. So there's always opportunity out there to add services or respond to, you know, pay attention to trends and be like, this keeps coming up. Maybe we should add this, or maybe we should adjust our expertise.
The other thing, if you're considering being a premium private pay provider, whether it's an attentive or a package, one are some of the marketing strategies that Micah has committed to is he really has made it a priority to consistently deliver high value content in his Monday emails. So, you know, we all have folks in our inbox. Like when I actually read his emails, it's enriching and it's leadership training and it's tips and techniques. So he's very strategic about giving free high level content through the email. I also enjoy following him on LinkedIn because, again, for you, if that's in your wheelhouse, if you want to communicate about your packages for your dream clients in an email campaign, it works. And you can leverage chat to do that. If you want to create a campaign on LinkedIn or Facebook, it works. Those are things that I noticed about you, about your Monday email, your LinkedIn post. You are strategic about that when it comes to marketing your boutique.
Yeah, and again, I'm writing one document. I think I'm to February right now, so I've written, like I'm scheduled out. So I've written up to February, one document per week, and my assistant, again, is just leveraging in all those avenues, LinkedIn, email. They're just going out at different times, so it feels like there's a lot more volume of variety because they're going out at different times, unless it's like Christmas or New Year's or something specific to a holiday. But yeah, that's part of a system that we've created so that, and we've gotten so far ahead. She is going on maternity on Wednesday, but she scheduled it all through February. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about a few other things that I need to pick up the ball on, but I'm not worried about that.
Go ahead.
That's me.
Once again, thank you for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.